Welcome back to the Investor's Library. You know we're here to make sense of the market, especially when things get, well, a little crazy. And yesterday, things definitely got crazy.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster for sure. Stocks took a pretty big hit, and
I think a lot of people are understandably feeling anxious, right? Like, what just happened?
exactly.
So we're going to unpack it all right here, right now. What exactly went down? Why should you care? And what might be coming next?
And you know, the interesting thing about this market drop is it wasn't triggered by the things you might expect. Like, it wasn't economic data.
Right.
It wasn't some political news. This was something different. This was all about artificial intelligence.
Okay, AI. So I'm guessing this has something to do with that
DeepSeek.
DeepSeek, yeah, the Chinese AI lab everyone's been talking about.
Yeah, DeepSeek just unveiled their own AI language model. They're calling it R1.
Okay.
And they're making some pretty bold claims. Basically, they're saying R1 is just as good as the big names out there, you know, like ChatGPT, but they built it for a fraction of the cost. We're talking millions of dollars instead of billions, which is just unheard of in this space.
Wow. So DeepSeek is saying they can make cutting-edge AI without breaking the bank.
Yeah. And they're also saying they did it using way less computing power,
Right.
which in the world of AI, that's a huge deal.
That is a huge deal.
Yeah.
So that's great news for the future of AI, right? I mean, more efficient, less expensive AI, that sounds like a win-win. But if that's the case, why did the market freak out?
Well, because this has massive implications for companies like NVIDIA, right?
Okay, NVIDIA. They're the ones who make those.
They make the chips.
Yeah, the super expensive, high-powered chips that everyone thought you absolutely needed for AI development.
Right. And if DeepSeek can deliver similar results with cheaper hardware, well, it kind of throws the whole AI investment landscape into question.
So basically, investors are worried that all the money they poured into AI infrastructure, especially those pricey chips, might not have been such a sure bet after all.
Exactly. And we're seeing that fear play out in a very real way. There's one ETF that tracks NVIDIA stock, and this ETF actually uses leverage, so it magnifies gains or losses. Well, it lost, get this, 51% of its value in a single day.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. That is a very real and scary reminder of how fast things can change, especially when you've got leverage involved. So it sounds like this wasn't just a tech sector wobble. This DeepSeek news sent ripples through the entire market.
Absolutely. Suddenly, investors are looking at other companies, companies that have gone all in on AI, and they're asking some tough questions like, are these companies really worth what we thought they were?
Right.
Are their valuations realistic, or is this another dot-com bubble, where hype-inflated prices way beyond reason? There's just a ton of uncertainty swirling around right now.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we've got this sudden shakeup in the world of AI, a big hit to the market, and a whole lot of uncertainty about what comes next. But DeepSeek didn't just change the technology itself. They changed the way we can access it, right? They made R1 open source. So what does that actually mean for the average person?
So open source means that DeepSeek is basically making their code public. Anyone can use it, they can study it, they can even build upon it, which is a huge contrast to some of the other players out there, like OpenAI. They keep their code very closely guarded, like a secret recipe. But DeepSeek is doing things differently. And that could potentially lead to just an explosion of innovation in AI. Like, imagine all these new applications and solutions popping up everywhere.
That does sound pretty exciting. More people working with AI could lead to some amazing breakthroughs. But I imagine there are some potential downsides too, right, to making such powerful technology so freely available. Like, what are some of the risks?
Well, the big one is misuse, right? When you make something this powerful, readily accessible, there's always the risk that it could fall into the wrong hands. People who might use it for harmful purposes.
Right.
And this open source approach raises a lot of ethical questions and security questions, like how do we foster innovation while also protecting against potential dangers? It's a tough one.
It's a very tough one. It definitely sounds like DeepSeek has thrown a wrench into the gears.
Yeah.
Shaking up the market and raising all sorts of questions about the future of AI and, how we manage its development. So where do we go from here? What does DeepSeek's success mean for the big picture of AI development?
It's a reminder that the tech world moves really, really fast. What seems like a sure bet today could be completely different tomorrow. DeepSeek has really challenged some of the fundamental assumptions about how AI is developed.
So how did they do it? How did DeepSeek pull this off? Especially with all this talk about the U.S. restricting, exports of high-end chips to China.
Right.
You'd think that would put them at a major disadvantage in this whole AI race.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah, it did. It seemed like a major hurdle. But they found a way to be really innovative and they worked around it. So they didn't rely on those top-of-the-line chips, the really expensive ones.
Right.
Instead, they used hardware that's readily available.
Okay.
And they just got really smart with how they trained their AI. They were able to kind of squeeze every ounce of performance out of the hardware.
So it was a combination of like clever engineering and finding a workaround to that whole chip shortage situation. It's impressive. Did they do anything else? Anything else that was like particularly innovative in how they went about this?
Yeah, they used a few really smart techniques. One of them is called mixture of experts architecture.
Okay.
And what that means is essentially they broke their AI model into smaller, specialized parts. And each expert handles a specific type of task. So that way, not every single part of the model needs to be active all the time.
Oh, okay. So it's like they streamlined the whole thing, got rid of any unnecessary bulk,
Exactly.
So what else?
They also used a process called distillation. It's kind of like a mentor-student relationship. So you have this larger, more complex AI model, and it's basically teaching a smaller, more efficient model.
Right.
And eventually, that smaller model, it learns from the bigger one, and it becomes just as capable, but it uses way less computing power.
Oh, I see. So they found a way to make their model like leaner, more focused, but without sacrificing any of its power.
Right.
It's like DeepSeek is showing that, it's not just about having the fanciest, most expensive equipment. It's about using it intelligently.
Exactly. They've really highlighted that efficiency is key in AI development.
Okay.
You can achieve some pretty amazing results without needing that brute force computing power.
Yeah, and this all kind of brings us back to the open source question.
Right.
DeepSeek making R1 open source, that's a potential game changer for like how AI develops in the future. We talked about some of the benefits like faster innovation and more people having access to this powerful technology. But let's talk a little bit more about those risks, those potential downsides. You mentioned misuse earlier. What does that actually look like in practice? Like how could someone misuse this AI?
Well, imagine someone using this powerful AI to create, incredibly realistic fake news, propaganda,
Oh, right.
or deepfake videos that could be used to, damage someone's reputation or manipulate public opinion.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
It's unsettling. And these are just a couple examples. There are a lot of ways it could be used for malicious purposes.
So what can we do? What steps can we take to like mitigate those risks? Is it even possible to control something like this once it's out in the open?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge challenge. Some people think that open sourcing AI actually makes it easier to find vulnerabilities and fix them, because more people are looking at the code. But there are also concerns that, bad actors could use that same openness to find and exploit weaknesses. It's a tough balancing act for sure.
Definitely. It sounds like DeepSeek is really, they've thrown a wrench into the works here. They sparked this stock market panic. They're forcing us to confront some really uncomfortable truths about the future of AI.
It really has kind of upended things, yeah.
And how we manage its development, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just about the tech itself. DeepSeek's emergence highlights the competition that's been brewing between, the U.S. and China in this AI space.
Right. DeepSeek's success is kind of a wake-up call, isn't it? It's a sign that China is a major player in this race to, AI dominance. What does that mean for the average investor? Should we be worried about this, about an all-out AI arms race?
Well, competition can be a good thing, right? It can drive innovation, push everyone to develop, better, more advanced AI, which in the end benefits all of us. But there's also a potential downside, right? Where maybe each side is prioritizing speed over safety in this attempt to outdo the other.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but definitely something to watch closely. What should investors be paying attention to, in the coming months, in the coming years, as all of this plays out?
I think it's important to see how companies are adapting to this new landscape, this more competitive landscape. Are they investing in efficiency like DeepSeek did? Are they exploring open source solutions? Are they trying to expand globally?
It really does sound like DeepSeek has changed the game here.
They have, yeah.
And it's up to everyone else to kind of adapt and respond.
Yeah.
This whole situation is just a reminder that the tech world, it can be so volatile.
It really can, yeah.
What seems like a sure bet today could be completely different tomorrow.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to stay informed and be adaptable. Never stop learning, especially in the world of investing.
So while the market might be panicking right now, in the short term, DeepSeek success could actually lead to a more dynamic and potentially more beneficial AI ecosystem for everyone in the long run.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. This could actually lead to more efficient, less expensive AI solutions that benefit businesses and consumers. The question is, how will companies, how will investors adapt to this new reality?
That is the million-dollar question. It seems like we've covered a lot today. What are your final thoughts? Is there anything that our listeners should be keeping in mind as they navigate this whole evolving landscape?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And while there's a lot of uncertainty right now, I think DeepSeek's success could actually be a good thing in the long run for AI, that is.
Okay. How so?
Well, the old way of thinking was that you needed these like massive resources, all this expensive hardware to develop AI that was actually good.
Right.
DeepSeek has proven that might not be true. They've shown us that efficiency and innovation are just as important.
So they've kind of leveled the playing field.
Exactly. And that could mean a more diverse, a more competitive AI landscape going forward. Like instead of just a few big companies controlling everything, we might see all this innovation coming from, smaller companies, startups, research labs, even individual developers. And that's exciting.
That is exciting. So what does that mean for everyday investors? Like what should we be looking at?
It means there are going to be a lot more opportunities to invest in AI, and not just in, the big tech companies.
Okay.
Look for the companies that are focusing on efficiency, on, creative solutions, open source development. Those are the companies that are going to be in a really good position to grow in this new AI landscape.
So instead of panicking about this market drop, investors should be looking at this as a chance to kind of reassess their strategies and maybe find some new opportunities.
Exactly. Change can be scary, but it also creates opportunities. And that's exactly what's happening right now with DeepSeek and this whole situation. It's a wake-up call for investors and the industry in general.
It sounds like the big takeaway here is that, we need to be ready for change and be open to new ways of thinking about AI.
Absolutely. The future of AI is full of potential, but it's also full of things we just don't know yet.
Right.
The companies and the people who can adapt and learn and be innovative, those are the ones who are going to do well in this new world.
Well, that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights. This has been a really fascinating look into the world of AI and what it all means for the market.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, remember, the Investors Library is here to help you navigate the crazy world of finance. Until next time, happy investing.